approximately a mile of gray steel, 37,000 crew, according to Legend's reference material, at least. That's the standard Imperial Star Destroyer, and to the Empire, that wasn't big enough. So they built bigger and bigger, until they were fielding ships 5 miles long, then 10, then 19 kilometers of Super Star Destroyer, then things so large they blur the line between a warship and a small moon. The question underneath every one of these ships is the same. Why? Why does a galaxy keep building bigger Star Destroyers when the biggest one it ever built, the Executor, the size of a city, was brought down by a single damaged fighter crashing into its bridge? Today we're ranking every major Star Destroyer class ever built, from the smallest to the absurd. Not by how impressive they look, by whether they made any sense at all. The criteria are explicit, because the best part of this ranking is that you can dispute it. Did this ship solve a real tactical problem, or did it mistake being large for being effective? Versatility, cost per effect, survivability relative to investment, and whether the class could actually hold territory, which is what a galactic empire ultimately needs its fleet to do. This channel covered the garrison problem in depth in the fleet video linked below. We're not re-explaining it here, but the math underneath this ranking is the same math. The baseline. Venator-class Star Destroyer. Canon. First deployed 22 BBY by the Galactic Republic, the Venator sets the standard for what a sensible warship looks like. At somewhere between 1,137 and 1,155 meters, the older Legends cross-sections use 1,137 meters, newer canon-aligned references use 1,155 meters. It carries 7,400 personnel, a wing of starfighters, roughly 40 LAAT gunships, 24 ATTE walkers, and 2,000 troops. Kuat drive yards built it to do everything at once: ship-to-ship combat, carrier operations, troop transport, planetary assault. The StarWars.com databank describes Venators as exceptionally versatile warships. That word is doing serious work. The Battle of Coruscant, the opening sequence of Revenge of the Sith, shows Venators doing precisely what they were designed for, engaging separatist capital ships while launching starfighters simultaneously. One hull, multiple concurrent roles, right-sized for the actual war the Republic was fighting. This sits near the top of the sanity ranking because it was built for a real operational need. It could be upgraded, replaced, or lost without catastrophic fleet degradation. That survivability per hull calculation is the central criterion the Empire later abandoned entirely, and each class we cover from here makes the same mistake with more zeros attached. The workhorse. Imperial-class Star Destroyer, Marks 1 and 2. Canon. At 1,600 meters, confirmed canon, this figure isn't contested, the Imperial class is 445 meters longer than the Venator and represents a genuine doctrinal evolution. The Venator's massive flight deck made it a hybrid. The Imperial class pushed harder toward an armed ship of the line that still carries fighters, troops, and ground vehicles. 72 TIE line fighters, 20 AT-AT walkers, 30 AT-STs, enough turbo-laser batteries to overwhelm anything the Rebel Alliance could field in a straight engagement. The crew figure sits in Legends reference material, roughly 37,000, with some sources extending that range toward 46,000, including embarked forces. Disney canon hasn't confirmed it. The concern it raises, though, is real. Legend sources put the Imperial fleet at around 25,000 of these hulls at peak strength. Multiply 37,000 crew by 25,000 ships, and you arrive at something close to 1 billion naval personnel for Star Destroyers alone. For a galaxy the Empire could never garrison adequately, that arithmetic was already unsustainable before anyone decided to build anything larger. But the Imperial class itself, as a design, makes sense. One hull that can police a sector, launch a planetary assault, and destroy a fleet. The Mark II tightened this further. Improved armament, upgraded shields, a communications tower replacing the old tractor beam array atop the bridge. the ISD still understood it was a tool. A large, expensive, manpower-intensive tool, but a tool. Tarkin captured the doctrine in miniature. When citizens looked at a Star Destroyer and compared it to whatever craft might be mustered against it, the natural response was to dismiss any attack as suicidal, rather than think tactically. The Star Destroyer's size was designed to win the psychological battle before a single turbo laser fired. For the ISD, that calculus holds. Every design decision that follows tries to scale that logic up. None of them manages it. The exceptions: Victory Class and Interdictor Class. The Victory Class arrived first, at 900 meters, smaller than the Venator. Rushed into production, it suffered constant maintenance problems and earned a reputation in legends as an unlucky ship. The Victory I focused on planetary assault. The Mark II shifted toward space combat. The Empire inherited both from the Republic and mostly tolerated them. They never represented a deliberate investment in escalation, so much as a bureaucratic inheritance from a war the Empire didn't fight. The Interdictor is more interesting. Confirmed Disney canon through its appearance in Rebels Season 2, specifically the episode Stealth Strike, where an interdictor traps Commander Sato's fleet in real space using gravity well projectors that prevent hyperspace entry or exit. This design solves a tactical problem that mass alone categorically can't. Rebel hit-and-run hyperspace jumps were a persistent operational problem, and the interdictor addressed it directly with specialized engineering rather than additional tonnage. High placement on the sanity ranking. A ship that thinks rather than just grows. The Empire demonstrably had the engineering capability to keep building mission-specific vessels and solve specific tactical problems with targeted solutions. The Interdictor proves that. The subsequent fleet choices prove they mostly decided not to bother. The Slide, Tector Class, Legends. The Tector Class is 1,600 meters, identical hull length to the Imperial Class, but has no ventral hangar bay. Where the Imperial Class carries TIE fighters, the Tector carries additional armor plating over the reactor core. Briefly visible in Return of the Jedi, confirmed in Legends-era reference material as a dedicated ship of the line. The design rationale was, remove the carrier function, gain a purer warship. But removing the hangar makes the Tector entirely dependent on separate carriers for fighter cover, adding logistical complexity to a navy already stretched thin across a galaxy it couldn't adequately garrison. Strip out versatility, add raw destructive power, declare it an improvement. That logic is exactly what runs, scaled up by an order of magnitude, into the next section. The centerpiece, Executor-class Star Dreadnought, Canon. The StarWars.com databank lists the Executor class at 19,000 meters, a figure a separate official StarWars.com analysis disputes, calculating roughly 13.5 kilometers from filming model ratios. But 19 kilometers is the databank entry, so that's what we're working from. At either measurement, this is the largest Imperial warship in confirmed Disney canon. Darth Vader's personal flagship, the head of Death Squadron, the Executor led the assault on Hoth. It pursued the Millennium Falcon to Bespin. It commanded the Imperial fleet at Endor. Legends reference material puts crew complement at roughly 280,000. Disney canon provides no official figure. Multiple Legends sources describe its firepower as approximately 100 times greater than a standard ISD. Then Lando Calrissian gives the order at Endor. Concentrate all fire on that Super Star Destroyer. Rebel starfighters hit the bridge deflector domes first. Multiple fighters, concentrated fire. The domes destroyed. The bridge is exposed. Then Arvel Crinid, green leader of the A-wing-filled Green Squadron, takes battle damage. His fighter hits the unshielded bridge. Canon sources leave the question of intent genuinely open. The StarWars.com databank describes the strike in neutral terms, while the Wikipedia canon article on Crinid describes it as a sacrifice. The film shows an A-wing struck by fire, spinning, then hitting the bridge. Whatever Crinid intended, Admiral Piet, commanding the Executor from that same bridge, dies on impact. Primary command systems destroyed. The ship, without navigation or crew, drifts into the Death Star II and explodes. The RZ-1 A-Wing interceptor is 9.6 meters long. Confirmed in both canon and legends, no dispute anywhere. Against 19 kilometers, the Executor is nearly 2,000 times the length of the craft that killed it. A purpose-built flagship, the crew population of a small city, enough firepower to overwhelm a fleet, neutralized through a single exposed structure by a single fighter, deliberate or not. The ambiguity over intent changes nothing about the disproportion. The bridge was exposed, the fighter hit it, the Executor fell. The absurd, legends-only territory. Everything from here is legends, ships from West End Games RPG sourcebooks, the Dark Empire comic series, and reference guides produced before Disney reset continuity in 2014. None appear in current canon. The Bellator-class Fast Dreadnought runs just over 7 kilometers, Jason Fry's figure in the Essential Guide to Warfare. Designed as a more mobile alternative to the larger dreadnoughts, it trades bulk for engine output. The Praetor Mark II class battlecruiser sits between 4.8 and 8 kilometers, depending on which Legends source you're using, classified as a battlecruiser despite its scale. The Assertor class Star Dreadnought runs approximately 15 kilometers and appears in the Essential Guide to Warfare as a sector command ship and mobile weapons platform. Each of these exists in Legends as evidence that the Empire was building enormous ships at every scale simultaneously, not just at the extremes. The Eclipse class is where that pattern stops being a pattern and becomes a confession. The Eclipse class appears in the Dark Empire comics, published by Dark Horse from December 1991. The West End Games Dark Empire sourcebook formalizes its length at 17.5 kilometers. It mounts a single axial superlaser derived from Death Star technology, capable of punching through planetary shields, razing continents, and obliterating capital ships, though not strong enough to shatter a planet outright. Legend sources treat it as significantly less powerful than the Death Star's planet-destroying weapon. The Empire attached a scaled-down Death Star gun to a 17.5-kilometer warship. Both Eclipse-class hulls built in Legends were destroyed. The Sovereign class, also Legends, was planned at 15 kilometers, with a crew reportedly exceeding 600,000, more than double the Executor's Legends figure. The Rebel Alliance learned of its existence only after reportedly capturing an Imperial handbook describing it. No Sovereign-class hull appears as a completed, active warship anywhere in primary Legends narrative. The Empire was designing these ships while already losing the war it had been fighting for years. The Inheritance, the Supremacy, First Order, Disney canon. The First Order took the delusion and made it wider. The Supremacy, Snoke's flagship, confirmed canon in The Last Jedi, is a flying wing spanning 60 kilometers at its widest point. That is its width, not its length. The ship is much shorter from bow to stern. 60 kilometers across. The audiences that called it about the size of Singapore weren't wrong as an impression, and they weren't wrong about what it says about the people who commissioned it either. It could dock 8 Resurgent-class Star Destroyers along its ventral surface, and function simultaneously as mobile capital and fleet headquarters. The First Order had, to its credit, absorbed some of what happened at Endor. The Resurgent class, its standard warship at 2,900 meters, nearly twice the length of the Imperial class, was built with an off-center bridge, a backup command station buried in the midsection, and reduced external exposure compared to Imperial-era designs. The bridge tower vulnerability that killed the Executor was explicitly factored into the Resurgent's architecture. The First Order knew what had happened. It still built the Supremacy anyway. Vice Admiral Holdo rams the Resistance cruiser Radis into the Supremacy at light speed. The ship splits. Most of the accompanying fleet is destroyed in the shockwave. A vessel serving as the government headquarters and primary military backbone of an entire order is taken out of action by one crew member on a ship already being evacuated. The Executor was 19 kilometers and one fighter killed it. The Supremacy was 60 kilometers wide and one lightspeed run split it in two. The numbers change, the pattern doesn't. The verdict. The Empire spent its entire existence trying to answer one question: how do you make people afraid? And Grand Moff Tarkin gave it an answer in writing: rule through the fear of force rather than force itself. The Tarkin Doctrine, formalized in canon in James Luceno's 2014 novel of the same name, is the direct ideological parent of every overscaled warship in this ranking. Fear was the weapon. Size was the delivery mechanism. Intimidation and control aren't the same thing. The Venator held the Clone Wars together because one hull could project force, deploy troops, and fight a fleet action simultaneously. The Imperial class worked for the same reason: versatile enough to be genuinely useful, numerous enough that losing one hull didn't reshape a campaign. Both were tools sized for real operational requirements.